Hello there, Geminis. Thank you for coming and spending some time with me for your monthly in-depth tarot forecast. The first time segment that we are going to look at is November the 1st through the 7th. Just putting a good shuffle on these cards and then we'll see what comes up for you. I've actually been shuffling them for a little before the camera came on. Should be pretty close by now. I think you guys do have a lot on your mind, though, with the fact that I am still shuffling. You guys have a lot on your mind during the time frame of November the 1st through the 7th, apparently. We're going to go ahead and see what comes up. Okay, Gemini. We're going to start with your environment. And your environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. Usually it comes up as home. I have seen it come up as somebody's actual personal sphere, the aura and the body of themselves. I've also seen it come up as school or work as well. So you want to kind of keep an open mind about where this environment might be, but it's someplace where you have energy or effort invested. It looks like there has been some kind of fight or disagreement, negotiation, some kind of basically battle, verbal or otherwise, having to do with your environment. And I think that you are making some long-term plans after that battle happened that has sort of inspired you to make some long-term plans. And I think part of those plans include preparing for the next battle. You're expecting that this is not a done deal and not over, and so you're preparing for the next battle or negotiation or debate, whatever that might happen to be in your environment. You're going to make sure you're not caught off guard. Next thing that we have coming up talks to me about your subconscious leanings, Gemini. There is somebody showing up in your subconscious leanings. This is somebody who is going to have some kind of authority or be in charge or having an influence some way on your life. So this could be a boss, a significant other, a head of some kind of organization that's important to you that you're a part of. But there's somebody who they have a lot of authority in your life that you've really got going on in your subconscious. You've got a lot of thoughts about this, and it looks like this person has put you in a situation where you feel like you need to compete. They're making you feel like you're not good enough or like somebody else is better. And so because you're feeling that way in your subconscious mind, in your subconscious leanings, you're looking at, you know what, I don't really want to compete. I don't feel like I should have to compete. This person knows my values. They know what I bring to the table. They know my good qualities. There's no reason for me to be competing. And I think that you are, your subconscious leaning is looking for that way to remove that competition, that element of competition from your life, even if that means removing that person who has authority or influence from your life as well. You are definitely considering what would that be like if you cut them out whenever we look at your subconscious leanings here. Next thing that we're taking a peek at, Geminis, is going to be your learning style and also your communication style during this particular time frame. So for learning style, I think that you've got some things that you're learning right now because you're doing them, and you're kind of learning them seat of the pants as you do them because you have to. I think that there's some things that you are working on that maybe you didn't know what all the steps were involved in. You're finding out as you're putting it together. So learning that way, okay? Also, as far as learning style, it looks to me like there's some kind of information that you're trying to get access to and you're feeling like it's very blocked off. This would be maybe you're trying to get into a class and you're not approved or accepted into that class, or this could be if you were looking for some kind of information and then you're finding out, oh, that's classified as secret information, not everybody has access to it, and so you don't have access to it. There's something going on here where you are looking for some type of information in particular, and it's there's an obstacle between you and actually knowing that information. Okay, it's kind of walled off from you, so to speak. And then other thing, as far as learning style, I think that there's a lot of confusion really going on, and I think that has to do with this walled off information, because you really don't know what to think is behind the wall. What is that information that you can't have access to? What does it actually say? Is it negative? Is it positive? Kind of hard to tell. And so there's a lot of confusion here, and I think you're trying to make some decisions moving forward based on the information that you're looking for, and so this is making it really difficult for you to make decisions. This could even be somebody's health information that you're trying to find out about, and because of HIPAA laws or some other privacy laws, people are not authorized to share that with you, something like that. All right, let's look at communication style during this time frame. It looks to me like there are 3 significant people that you're communicating with during this time frame, and this feels like you're taking care of business. Now, whether this is your business, whether this has anything to do with your job, I don't know, but I know that you are taking care of something that definitely needs to be taken care of, okay? And so that communication, that comes across to me as being very necessary communication to have, and I see you definitely having that. I don't see you shirking it at all. And then the other thing that I see is, as you're communicating, you are really being very truthful, very honest, sort of shining the light on some things where maybe the truth wasn't so easily apparent to other people, but you have, basically, I'm feeling like you have direct access to the truth. Maybe you're an eyewitness to something, or maybe you were involved in something, and there are a lot of rumors floating around that are not true. I see you as actually coming out with the truth, more or less from the horse's mouth as it comes out from you, okay, in your communication style during this time frame. Now, I'm also seeing that your communication is really restricted right now as we go through into this time frame, and as that communication is restricted, I feel like that's something that really is troublesome for you. I mean, you're a Gemini, you're an air sign. You guys, communication is really, really important. Thought, communication, all really important to you guys. And so having this being restricted, I think this is, I don't know if this is literally making you cry, but it is definitely making you sad. Okay, so that's learning and communication style during this particular time frame. I want to look at work next for you Geminis. La da 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 da, la da da da, la da da da. Okay, so Geminis, whenever we're looking at work here, there is this feeling of not being so thrilled about the idea of the work that is on your plate. I don't get the sense that you hate your job or anything like that, but it seems like the tasks that are in front of you during this particular time frame are a little bit odious. Okay, I do feel like also there is some kind of second chance that is coming around here. So this may be that, yeah, I think you're giving somebody a second chance when it comes to your work. So this may be that you had put in a notice somewhere and that you had decided you were going to walk away, and now you're giving somebody, you're telling somebody, you know what, You know, you're telling me that you really need me to at least stay until you find my replacement. Okay, I'll do that. Okay. But or you're saying, you know what, if you guys want me back so bad, then how about showing that in my pay or showing that in my vacation time or whatever. There may be some kind of negotiation there. And I feel like the relationship there with the person who's in charge of making that decision about you coming back or not and yourself is a little bit of a tense, this is a tense interaction, okay? But I do see you actually coming back to work. Now, I'm not sure how long you left work. Maybe you didn't really leave work. Maybe you just put in your 2 weeks notice and the bosses started tripping out a little bit and doing everything they could to get you back. Maybe. Or maybe you did actually leave and maybe maybe it took you leaving for them to realize, wow, I don't know where anything is, or I don't know how to handle any of these procedures, or I don't even know what the protocols are. And so then they call you back because they need you. You're a necessity. So it looks to me like you're going back to work during this time after some negotiation, and you're basically giving these people a second chance to make it worth your while to be at work. Okay, so that's what we have coming up for outer work. Now we're going to look at inner work too. For those of you who haven't seen my videos before, I am kind of weird about work because I do see it in that way that we make a living or that we feel productive in the community, but I also see it in that way that we improve our own character to make us happier with who we are. So we're going to look at inner work, which is what that is right now. There is something going on where there is some kind of change that you've made where you've sort of readjusted your priorities and you're realizing that, you know what, maybe how you were doing it before was okay. Maybe it was better. And I think you're going back to that old set of priorities or that old way of doing things when it comes to something. It comes across to me that that feeling is just much more comfortable right now. I think you know that you still need to make this change, but you're just not ready to head into it full blast just yet. Okay? So that's inner work. Let's look at that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded during this time frame, Geminis. I really don't want to freak people out whenever I say this, and so I need you all to know that this is not going to apply to all the Geminis who are watching this video because this is a general read. There's no way that it could. Now, having said that, I am going to say that I think that some of you Geminis, and I think it's going to be a small percentage, like just 10% probably, but some of you Geminis are going to literally have a near-death experience during the time frame from November 1st through 7th. Near-death. Notice, near-death. I'm not saying that you're dying and you're staying out of your body. I'm saying you're having a near-death experience. So you are seeing a little bit of the afterworld and you're coming back to tell about it. Or maybe you don't want to tell about it, but you're coming back either way. And I think that whenever this happens, you're going to start really focusing on the things that you want to do to make your life something that you're more happy with, that you feel more proud about. And where you've had plenty of things that you could focus on before, you may not have really had that motivation to focus on it until this happened. Now that motivation is coming in because it looks to me like when you had that near-death experience, for those of you that did, you may have realized that you were not so happy with what you have to show for your life. Okay? Now for others of you, I think that this is somebody in your sphere of influence that you're hearing about, or somebody that you know who's having a near-death experience. Once again, not actually dying, just near-death experience. They're having a near-death experience, and this is actually hitting home with you that, you know what, that could have been me. That could be anybody. And that didn't have to turn out as well as it did. And it kind of lights a fire for you to start doing the things that you really want to do with your life, that you know you want to do, that you've been procrastinating on. Because I think that hearing about or seeing this near-death experience really makes you realize that you're not happy with how quickly you're moving along and getting things accomplished in your life that you have chosen to accomplish while you're here. Wow, Gemini. Whew. Whew. Next thing that we're looking at is something that you stand for. Okay, Geminis, it looks to me like you have a situation where somebody was acting in a very dishonest way with you, creating a lot of illusions. And it looks like this is something that has really made you sad. This has really hurt you. This has broke your heart. And as this has happened, you have gone a little bit into pity party mode. You know, where you're feeling sorry for yourself. And those of you who have been watching me for years, you know that when I see this card, you know, it triggers something in me because I always feel the need to say, pity parties feel really great in the moment. They feel righteous and like we deserve to have this pity party, and you know, and really, who would interfere with somebody having a pity party? They have gone through something. You know, however they feel, they have the right to feel that way. And that's true for you, Geminis. The problem with a pity party, the way I see it as a reader, as somebody who's here to help you to steer your life through whatever obstacles come up in a more productive way, the problem with the pity party is it's not productive. It's not productive financially, it's not productive emotionally, it's not productive mentally, it's not productive when it comes to your relationships in your life. It's not productive. It holds us back if we have a pity party. It keeps us down. It keeps us in that lower level energy that doesn't manifest anything except for more of the ugly, more of the what we don't want. So if you feel that pity party energy coming in on yourself, Geminis, then please, 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 head it off at the pass. Head it off at the pass if you can. What's interesting here is that when somebody sees how much you're hurting and they see you having this pity party, that's when they decide to come clean and actually say the truth about what's been going on. Interesting, isn't it? I really don't know if this person is cruel to do this. That's kind of my first inclination. I think they're cruel to do this. To me, this comes across as rubbing salt in the wound. To let somebody know exactly what you did that messed them up. But maybe it's helpful. Maybe knowing exactly what happened helps you to get past it. But either way, why these cards are coming up in this position is because this whole idea of heartache and pity party is something that you're defending. You're defending this idea of, well, how would you feel? If this happened to you, how would you feel? All right? And then on top of that, I was already feeling bad, and then these people told me exactly, and it was a lot worse than I thought it was. All right? So that's something you're defending your feelings there. And this person that you're defending your feelings to, how do they see you? They see you as somebody who has a really good poker face. So they may be seeing your feelings, but I don't think the general public is. I don't think most people are seeing your feelings because they're seeing you as having a very good poker face. They're seeing you as needing some time to rest, to regroup, to regenerate. Regenerate, is that a word? Rejuvenate is the word I was shooting for. And they're seeing you as somebody who is going to come back strong after this And the reason they're seeing you as somebody who's going to come back strong is because they see you as somebody who cares. And so anything that anybody else put you through, no matter how bad it was, has not interfered with the idea that you care about whatever it is that you're doing out in the world. You care about it. And people breaking your heart and people just being mean doesn't keep you from caring. And so I think you take some time off. You don't let those people know exactly how much they hurt you. You take some time off, and then you get up and you go at it again. And I mean, you're going at it again as the King of Cups. You're coming at it again peacefully. You're coming at it again with compassion. You may be even saying, you know, those people are only doing these things because they think it's right. You may even be, in a way, standing up for these people. Mean, horrible people. And I normally don't say mean, horrible, but that's what it feels like to me. Not about people. All right. Let's look at your flex point here, Geminis, and this is going to be the point where things start to change direction for you during this time frame. You are picking up some responsibilities. This may be you getting fully back to work. I do feel like as you're picking up these responsibilities, you are kind of neglecting yourself a little bit. I feel like you're not taking good care of yourself. You're not making sure that you're keeping good sleep, or you're not doing the things it takes to make sure that your immune system stays up. You're not, it looks to me like the focus is so much more on work that maybe you're not eating right or whatever, but you're not taking good care of your particular self during this time as you're picking up those responsibilities. And what's happening as you're picking up those responsibilities is you're starting to feel some kind of relief. I think for you, this is some kind of relief that comes in. Maybe it's financial relief. Maybe it's just mental relief that you're picking up these responsibilities. At the same time, this is a big burden for you right now. And it feels like even though it may be the same burden that was before, this is a bigger burden now than it used to be on your particular system. And so that's why you need to be taking better care of yourself during this time than what you normally would. You need a little bit of TLC for yourself during this time. Okay? Next thing, we are looking at Geminis. Geminis. At the same time that this is going on, there is some kind of agreement or contract. These are all three major arcanas. You've got an agreement or a contract that you made with the devil, and that is falling apart completely. It's just coming to an end. May not even be falling apart. Somebody may be stabbing this agreement to death. Now, when we have an agreement with the devil, this is something that is where we've made an agreement that is self-destructive. Basically, it's a toxic agreement. It may be toxic for both parties, but definitely it's more in favor. You know, there's at least one party that is receiving on the receiving end of something really negative that's holding them back, keeping them down, oppressing, very much oppressing them. And I see you bringing an end, or that actually falling apart. I think you would like to bring an end to it, but I think what happens is it actually falls apart. And this is a serious contract or agreement. This could be a toxic marriage situation or a toxic relationship situation, but, you know, long term, not just, you know, not just dating or whatever. This is bigger. And this could also be even a business relationship of some kind that has been toxic, where you have been used and abused. And that is, I really think it's falling apart. I don't think My impression is that you're not really trying to kill this. I think you would like to. I think you recognize that it's not working for you. But I think it falls apart because of outside influences. And I think that that is actually a relief for you because it gets you out of this situation. What else is going on during this same time? I'm seeing you as being actually quite self-sufficient on your own during this same time. So while this is falling apart over here, this agreement with somebody else, whether it's business-wise or personal-wise, even as that's falling apart, you're over here you're doing great. You're doing self-sufficient. You know, you have things covered. You're okay. You have plenty of everything that you need at the moment. And as a matter of fact, you're bouncing back incredibly quickly. It looks to me like you almost had like a plan waiting in the wings. You were just waiting for this to fall apart or waiting for the chance to do something on your own here where you could really do something in a much better, much more solid way than what you could have in this partnership that fell apart. The problem here is that I don't think you see all the potential here. You're not used to carrying the load and to being self-sufficient and to having all that authority. And so for you, you're having a hard time seeing the potential, even though what you're doing is absolutely wonderful. And it's big. It just doesn't look big because you feel like you're still recovering, which technically you are. But at the same time that you're recovering, you're starting something that's new and wonderful. Okay, so where do we see you at the end of this time frame, Geminis? You may be feeling like you don't have enough money or like you don't have enough energy. I feel like for a lot of you, this isn't so much about money as it is about energy. You may be feeling very low energy during this time. And you are spending some time by yourself. When we have time like this by ourselves, we have time to really consider priorities, what's important to us, what makes us tick. And I really see a lot of that going on as you're spending some time by yourself here. And it looks like it's during this time where you're feeling low energy and where you're spending so much time by yourself that other people may be influencing you to make some decisions that you're not so sure you would make without their influence. Okay, for better or for worse. This isn't necessarily a negative thing. It isn't necessarily a good thing. But I do think that you're letting yourself being influenced more than usual by other people in your decision making just because you are feeling so low energy. And I think you're questioning yourself and the energy that you have right now and if it's sufficient for you to make these decisions. Okay? So that's where I see at the end of that time frame. Let me go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for being here. I'm going to take a break and come back in a few minutes, and then we will look at the next week of November. See you soon. Okay, Geminis, we are back. This time we're looking at November the 8th through the 14th. See what kind of things are coming in for you during that time frame. All right, Geminis. Let's start off with your environment. And an environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. We talked about that last time frame. It looks like things are being turned a little bit on their head in your environment. There is definitely something coming in that is quite the surprise. And it looks to me like somebody who is normally in charge or who has historically been in charge in your environment is no longer in charge. If this is at work, there could be some kind of shakeup at work where the person who's in charge has been that seat is being taken by somebody else. And it feels like, interestingly enough, it feels like this may be a temporary situation. So it may be that the person that is in charge normally is on vacation or something like that. But so we've got this situation at work where it's kind of a surprise. So maybe it's not a vacation, but maybe somebody is taking some time off that is unplanned, sudden and unexpected, I would say, from the card coming up here. And this could be the same if this is a home situation. This could be the patriarch or the matriarch of the family needing to let somebody else lead the way for a little bit. Okay? Surprising situation. All right, let's look next. Gemini, is that your subconscious leanings? I feel like there is something coming up in your subconscious leanings about doing things to sort of pamper yourself. I remember we saw in the last time frame that you weren't taking very good care of yourself when it came to work. You were putting your work responsibilities ahead of that. It looks like you may be thinking now in your subconscious that, you know what, I need to start taking better care of me. And I think you're doing some things to start pampering yourself and allowing yourself that time for rejuvenation and for rest. I do feel, once again, even in this next card, that it sort of talks about that you're thinking about this idea that you don't feel like you have as much energy as what you really want to. And then, even though you are taking this time to take care of yourself and you don't feel like you have as much energy as you want to have, you are still definitely wanting to take care of business and to be right on the forefront of getting things done and making things happen. So it looks to me like there's a little bit of a push-pull as far as subconscious leanings with, okay, how am I going to take better care of myself? How am I going to get more rest? And how am I going to get all these things accomplished that I actually want to get accomplished? And I feel like for a lot of you, this is especially in the business world. For some of you, this could be just with the general everyday business of running a home. You may be feeling like you just are low on energy and you don't know how to do it, how to juggle it all out to get the rest you need and do the responsibilities that you would like to take care of. All right, so that was subconscious leanings. Next thing we're looking at talks to me about learning style and also communication style. Okay, so for learning style, I do feel like you are finding some information right now, but it's almost like you have to pull teeth to find that information. So you're having to work hard, you're having to dig hard for some of this information that you're finding out and things that you're learning. I do feel like we've still got a situation where you've gotten more information than you did have during the last time frame. It's like some of that wall around the information that you want, you've managed to find a way to climb over that wall somewhere. I don't feel like you have all the information, but you do have some of it that you didn't have access to before, and I think that feels really good to you. I think part of how you get that information is through collaborating with other people to find out about certain things. And then the last thing about communication, or I mean about learning style, has to do with this idea of for some things, and maybe this is what you haven't been able to reach on the other side of that wall, there are some certain topics that you're being frozen out of, that people are just not opening up and not sharing information with you about. Now, looking at communication style, I actually see you doing quite a bit of listening during this time frame, being eager to hear about other people's knowledge and other people's expertise and understand what it is that they're talking about and saying and trying to explain to you. I feel like also you are communicating in such a way to hold up hope and light and to sort of be the example of somebody who can expect positive and think positive even when maybe things are a little bit dark. And it looks to me like for you to feel heard, you feel like you have to jump through all kinds of hoops to get people's attention so that you can actually be heard for what you're saying. And I think that you're finding ways to jump through those hoops and to trigger people to pay attention to what you're saying, whether they really would have chose to originally or not. All right. Next, let's look at work for you Geminis. Workity work, 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 work. We're going to look at outer work first, which has to do with how you make a living or how you make yourself productive in the community. Looks to me like there have been some disappointments when it comes to outer work, but you're not focusing on the disappointments. You're just looking at the opportunities that are in front of you right now, taking advantage of them and working them forward. There's not a lot of celebration going on right now, so if you were hoping to accomplish something or finish something, get some kind of project off the ground, have something to celebrate at work, I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening midweek. I do think you've got something coming in towards the end of the week that is going to be worth celebrating, although I have to say I don't think it's the same thing that you were expecting to be celebrating. I think it's something else that's coming in that is making you very happy, and I think it's also something that is making you look really good to your bosses. They're seeing whatever this is that got accomplished as a feather in your cap. Excuse me. Yankee Doodle Dandy. Alright, wasn't he the one with the feather in his cap? I don't remember the whole nursery rhyme anymore. Alrighty, la da da da. Next we're looking at that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now, Geminis. There is something going on where there was, I don't know if I exactly want to say flirting, but there was some kind of communication about the idea of doing something together or working something out. I've got to tell you, this does not feel very romantic to me at all. Okay, so we're probably talking business-wise, or, this could even be in another part of your personal life. But I can tell you, this does not feel like working something out romantically. So it's important to be thinking about where else in your life you could be working something out whenever I'm looking at these cards. And it looks like there's been talk about working something out, doing something, working on some kind of project together. However, I feel like you're kind of sneaking away from this idea. I think you're quietly moving away from this idea, and I think you're quietly moving away because you're not being really upfront about the idea that you're moving away from it, because you want to keep it as a backup plan in case your other plan doesn't work, at least at first. But then once we get more towards the end of the week, I see you actually just releasing this situation. So I think you're going to be really upfront with somebody about the idea that, yeah, we talked about this and we were hoping to make it go, but yeah, I've got a better offer over here, or I've got on, or there's something else I need to focus on over here, and so I have to let this go. So that's what we see as where you're growing and expanding here, is in the idea of recognizing when something that is of more value comes along, when it's time to fold the cards, as they say. Hold them or fold them. All right, next thing we're looking at is something that you stand for. What do we have here? I think there's been some kind of move or some kind of change, maybe even a big change in perspective. And so you may be actually in a different location, or you may be looking at something very differently, and that has been a gift to you. Either the different location or the new perspective has been a gift to you, and it has helped you to accept some things that you weren't willing to or able to accept before. And so having that new perspective, having that new way of looking things has actually helped you come to this point of acceptance, and it's been a gift to be able to do that. Okay, and so somebody has said something about this to you, and you've actually had to defend the idea that, okay, you know, I accept this. You know, maybe it's a person. Maybe you're accepting this person just the way they are, or maybe it's a situation. I accept that it's not perfect, but it does blah, 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 blah. You know, so you're having to defend this whole idea that you've come to a point of acceptance with something. And how this other person sees you after you make this defense is they see you as somebody who hasn't really accepted something, but has just walked away. That you've walked away from something that you put in a whole lot of energy and effort into, and now you've walked away from it, and you don't really have any plans on coming back, or really even where you're going, just that you're leaving. That's how the other person is seeing you after you have this change in perception. Okay? La da 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 da, Gemini. Okay, so Geminis, next thing we're going to look at is your flex point during this particular time frame. What does your flex point look like? Let's find out. Alrighty. So you've been really impatient with, or you will have been by the time this time frame's here, you will have been really impatient with all the competition for your attention that's been going on around you. And I think that all that competition for attention did have you feeling really stressed out because you were trying to be patient with it. You were trying to give all these people as much attention as you possibly could. And I think it was really stressing you out at one point because you felt like maybe, you know, maybe you weren't able to do enough along these lines. Now what's going on is you're impatient with all these people who are trying to catch your attention and get you to pay attention to them, okay? And you're impatient with them, and that's really, it's kept you from stressing out. You're not feeling so tense about this situation anymore. You're not stressing out about it anymore. You're just kind of done with the stress. You're done with people that are, you know, clawing for your attention. It's just, I don't think you have time for it. It's just not a big enough priority for you right now. Other things are much more important. Next thing that we have coming up for your Geminis, Geminis, Geminis. All right. It looks like you have some new and inspiring ideas about some kind of project or something that you want to move forward with. And it looks like somebody is coming to you and making an offer to you about something from the past. And I think that you're not taking them up on bringing up something from the past that had been put on the back burner and they want you to return it to the front burner. I don't think you're going for that. You have a new idea. You want to do something different. That is old and outdated and just done. And so you're moving forward, and you're moving forward very decisively. I think that once you make that decision that, no, we're not bringing that thing from the past into the future, we've got this new idea, I think you're moving forward with it actually pretty quickly. Now, what else is going on here? You are coming into a position where you feel like you have plenty of energy again, plenty of finances again, plenty of plenty. All right? And you've got a lot of options in front of you, especially now that you've got more energy coming back into your life. You have a lot of options in front of you about things that you could be focusing on. And you may be doing some heavy-duty multitasking as you do that, as you figure out what do I want to make my priority. You may be keeping a lot of plates in the air as you're trying to figure out which one is the priority one. All right? And I do see you doing a lot of communication with other people to kind of keep them informed about what is going on in your world, basically. Where do we see you ending this time frame? Geminis, Geminis. It looks like you are spending some time really trying to get to the bottom of some type of situation, trying to maybe even meditate or think deeply about what would be a good solution to a situation that you have in front of you that right now has you paralyzed. And so you're taking some time to really think these things over. Something else that you're thinking over during this time is about your legacy. What are you leaving behind? What have you done that's making a difference? What are they going to write on your tombstone when you do pass away? Where are these thoughts coming from? Is this because of that close call, that near-death experience from last week? But you're definitely looking at, how am I impacting my sphere of influence, and what's the long-term impact? And it looks like there is definitely some disappointment that's happening as you're looking at that. You're realizing that, I don't think you're feeling like you haven't done anything to leave that kind of impact or the legacy that you would like to, but I think you are disappointed that about some part that has been left undone so far as you're looking at this. And I think that really has to do with this whole idea of just being still and meditating. I think that meditation, looking for that concern, that the solution to that issue has to do with this whole sense of legacy and what are you leaving behind for the people who come after you. Okay. All right, so that's that time frame. Let me wrap this up and I'll see you guys back in another couple minutes. Hello again, Gemini. This time we are looking at November the 15th through the 21st. See what comes up here for you guys. I feel like I kind of want to cut the deck a little differently than usual this time. Let's see what kind of energy you have here. Gemini. Gemini, Gemini, Gemini. Okay guys, cards are on the table. Let's look at your environment. First off, this is any place where you have energy or effort invested. I feel like you guys have some kind of neighbor or outside influence to your environment that's taking some kind of rash action that has impacted your environment and impacted their environment, although I feel like it's worked out really well for you. Their rash action worked out in your favor. The other thing that I have coming up about the environment, though, is that there is some money expenditure on the environment right now. So you are spending some kind of money in your environment or on your environment. I think the result is very happiness making. It may be that you're actually spending this money because of the rash action of a neighbor or somebody who is an outside influence to your environment. Either way, I just don't think you would have spent that money other than this rash action, but I think that it's worked out very well for you in the end. Subconscious leanings. Subconscious leanings. It looks like there are a couple of people in your sphere of influence, Gemini, who really are pushing you to do exactly the opposite of what you actually want to do. And in your subconscious mind, you are figuring out how you can hold your ground against them and make the decisions that you want to make and do the things that you want to do, not these things that these other people are pushing you towards doing. Next, we're looking at learning style and also communication style. There are certain topics that you're learning quite a bit about, and I do think that these are things that you're curious about and that have an interest to you. You are learning quite a bit about these. There is also I think some of you are learning about things going on. I in the spirit realm or afterlife. Some of you may actually be studying what happens after you pass away. That type of thing is what is coming up here. And then you also are learning some things about money, 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 honey. Okay, so communication style. I think that your communication during this time frame in general has slowed down quite a lot. Quite a lot. I do think that you are doing a lot of listening, even though you're not talking near as much as you used to, or as you usually do, I should say. But you are doing a lot of listening, which is helping you get the big picture on what's going on. Okay, that's learning and communication style. Next thing that I have coming up talks to me about work. Workity work, 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 work. So I think, Geminis, that you guys are coming up with some kind of plan to be able to walk away from the work that you have been doing. I don't think that you're really thrilled with the idea of this, but I think that you may have been more or less forced into this, but I think you've come to the realization that at this point you really kind of don't have a choice, that you have to walk away from this old kind of work that you were doing before. As far as your inner work, now I want to answer this question: why are you having to walk away? And I think it is something that has to do with health and well-being and stress level combined. All right, let's look at inner work. Inner work is really, right now, is coming to the conclusion that there's not a lot of power over the future, and so the inner work is really all about staying in the present right now. That's your inner work, just staying in the present moment and appreciating what is in the present. Okay, next thing coming up here. Next thing coming up here. Coming up here. Next thing has to do with that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded as you go through this particular time frame. La da 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 da. I feel like Geminis, you guys are feeling like you have plenty of resources. You have everything that you need right now. You're even receiving gifts from other people on top of having everything that you feel like you need. And I feel like you are digging for information. And as you're digging for information, it kind of comes to me that maybe the gifts that you're receiving are people giving you little snippets of information as you're digging for it, making it really easy for you to find some of that information coming up. So that's where you're growing or expanding right there. Next, we're looking at things that you stand for. So somebody would have come to you and said something about this that I'm going to talk about next, and you've had to defend yourself in this. So it looks like you weren't feeling very enthused about accepting the idea that something was over. And because you weren't feeling very enthused about that idea of accepting it, I think that even though people tried to say, oh, this is what you have, I think that you're making a comeback with whatever that was that people tried to tell you you couldn't do anymore, or not to turn away from, or not to do anymore. So you're making a comeback here. And I think that somebody has sort of criticized you about that. They're like, well, look, didn't we already make this decision once? Why are we remaking this decision? And, you know, you're just having to tell them that you have your reasons and they need to step off the curb. All right, let's look at how this other person is seeing you. They are seeing you as somebody who is very much able to bring something back from the past and revive and revitalize it. They're seeing you as somebody who, I think, in their mind, they were thinking that, and I know this gets complicated because they were thinking that other people were thinking that you were down for the count and just done. And now it comes up to me that they feel like if anybody can be down for the count and then just come back up, that would be you. All right. However, I do feel like they're worried about this whole situation. They're worried about you bringing this back, or, bringing this back to life, or revitalizing whatever this is. And they're worried about that because they're worried about you as you do this and as you expend the energy to do it and invest your own time and your own self into that. So they're a little worried about if it's going to be worth it to have you investing like that. And I feel like, I gotta say, through this whole month, I've kind of felt like health has been like a background issue the whole time. And so part of the reason why they're worried is because they feel like your health is not the best that it could be. So why would you, amp things up for yourself? And they're worried. That's what they're worried about. Flex point during this month. What do we see here, Geminis? You're following your intuition. You're doing what you know that you need to do. And what you're doing is you're coming away from the peaceful waters where you have been into things that are really turbulent and messy, and getting into that mix and doing what you can to improve that situation. And I feel like that's a very lonely thing for you. Even though you're following your intuition, I think, like I said, other people are kind of worried about you doing this. And as you're doing this, they are, that worry is only increasing. And so this makes this kind of a lonely thing for you, in that you don't have somebody encouraging you or lifting you up as you do this. Next, let's look at what else is going on during this time frame. You definitely are, I want to say you're calling out the lies, the untruths, the illusions. You're facing those head on, and you're just sort of chopping those off at the legs. But there is a lot going on, and I think that as you are doing this, I think that some things are falling through the cracks, that you're not able to keep up with just everything that you've signed on for here just yet. And I also get the sense that you could very easily be working from home during this time frame. Working from home or working at home, doing something around the house. Or working on homes in general. All right, what else is going on during this time frame, Geminis? There is some healing to some old heartache, so you're getting some things accomplished that make you feel good, make you feel like you're making forward progress. You're actually even coming up with new ideas about things that you could do moving forward. Is this Gemini or somebody else? You have somebody on the sidelines, though, that's showing up as being very jealous and, yeah, just very jealous of the fact that you're moving forward here. I don't like that. I don't think you have to worry about them. I think, though, that they are going to make themselves known to you, even if they don't exactly mean to. You're going to know who that is. All right, the next thing that we're looking at here is where we see you at the end of this particular time frame. Okay, so I think that you have managed to spend some time alone setting priorities once again during this time frame, and you're coming out of that time. You're coming out of that time, and part of what's bringing you out of that time is you have some good news about money. And you have the reason you have good news about money is because of something that you have done in the past. But there's good news about money that's coming in that is helping you to come out of this time frame of prioritizing and setting things right, because that good news about money is actually going to help you to move forward with some type of solution that you were trying to work on. And I think that you're coming out of this time of isolation very focused what it is that you want to work on moving forward to improve things for yourself, and really just determined to stay focused and work forward on that. Okay, so that's that time frame. We've only got one more left. I'm going to take a little break, come back, and see you in a few minutes again. Peace out. Here we are again, Geminis. We're looking at that last week of October plus 2 days, or excuse me, November. Last week of November plus 2 days. So November the 22nd through the 30th this time around. Let's see what kind of energies come up for you. Take a peek, take a peek, take a peek for Geminis. La da 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 da. La da da da. La da da da. By the way, this is a general reading, means not everything I see here will apply to every single Gemini. And also, if your sun sign reading does not apply to you, you may want to check on either your moon sign or your ascendant sign. Or if you're looking strictly for your personal relationships, you may want to check in on your Venus sign as well. Alrighty. Alrighty. First thing that we're looking at here is your environment, Gemini. It looks like things are going really well for you in the environment. There are some things, things are going really well in the environment with that card, but there are some things that haven't really come to the surface now either. And I think that that is actually making you confused. So even though things are going good, I think somebody in your environment has some secrets, or there's something going on with your environment, with the actual structure itself, that you're having a hard time understanding what's causing certain things to happen. And so there is some confusion there. But first card out is the good card, and it really does talk about good things in the environment. So even though you've got this little mystery that's showing up, overall it's a good place to be. Okay. La da 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 da. Looking at your subconscious leanings, what's happening here? Okay. So it looks like we have a situation where you are really working on keeping your balance, Geminis. There's somebody in your sphere of influence who's basically being moody and more or less throwing fits. I want to adjust this camera so I don't look so short. So somebody being moody or throwing fits, and they are really trying to make themselves a part of your experience to a bigger degree. And I think that you are staying really balanced with this. And what I mean when I say you're staying really balanced, I don't see you reacting to this in a super emotional way. I see you handling this in a healthy and productive way. And I gotta say, I don't see you letting them get away with just inserting themselves into your experience. I think that you've definitely got some good healthy boundaries up, and I think you've actually explained these boundaries to them and why they're in place, or at least that's what's going on in your subconscious, like how to make this happen. I think you're anticipating this moody person coming back, and so you want to be prepared for how you're going to handle that situation. Next thing that I'm looking at talks to me about your learning style and your communication style. We're going to start with learning style first. I do think that you have many varied interests, and you are learning little bits and pieces here. The energy about what you're learning about could be just as scattered as your interests are. There are some things that you're learning about strictly because you enjoy learning about them, not because you need to know about them for your job or your business or for anybody else or any other project, but just strictly because you want to. You may be learning how to paint or do sculpture or something along those lines. Ba-bum-bum-bum-bum. And I think you are learning some information. I think this information actually is a person in your sphere of influence, and that information is making you very happy. I feel like some of you may be finding out that somebody close to you is having a baby, or having some kind of other happy celebration, and it's making you happy just to hear about it, just to learn that. Okay. Communication style. What do we have here? I think that you've sort of drawn a line in the sand with somebody as far as your communication style, and you are holding your ground. I think that they are pretty persistently trying to get you to come away from the line in the sand that you've drawn. That's not even about to happen. No way. All three of these cards I'm looking at have a very definite line in the ground, and you're standing in it. So definitely, I think that is, whatever is going on there, I think that's kind of the major theme right now, because it is showing up so strongly. Yeah, I'm going to say that that is, the communication really is all setting parameters, setting boundaries, setting rules, and then making those rules stick as other people try to bounce through them or try to bounce them down. Okay, let's look next at work. Work, it looks like there's something going on where you're kind of picking up the pieces of something. So something may have fallen apart or not gone exactly the way that you expected it to or wanted it to or planned for it to. But all is not lost. There are some salvageable parts, and I see you picking up those salvageable parts and making use of them. I also see that you have some really great ideas about things that you can do at work, and maybe even ideas from somebody from the outside, kind of as an influence, kind of making a suggestion. And I think that you really love this suggestion. So you may be looking at doing that new idea. So turning in a little bit of a different direction, or putting your focus on something that's a little bit different moving forward in work. Now, as far as inner work, it comes to me that you may have been feeling a little bit depressed or a little bit overworked, maybe more than anything else, and that was not helping your mood. And I think your inner work is about finding that inspiration and that wonder in just every day, and the things that come up every day, the beauty that is every day. Okay, next we're going to look at that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now, Geminis. And when I say right now, I do mean the date in the corner. I do see you being self-sufficient, being able to take care of everything that you need without necessarily having to have a partner to lift you up, and being very happy with what you have created as an individual showing up here. I do think that there has been or is going to be during this time frame some type of fight, debate, argument, something along those lines, probably much more verbal than anything else. And this is going to have to do with somebody who is fighting with an addiction. I think they may have, they may not be actively in that addiction, and they're trying their best to stay that way. We're not going to say how successful they are or they aren't based on these cards, but it looks to me like this fight or this debate has to do with ideas around the addiction and beating the addiction that you're having with this person. And that's kind of where you're growing or expanding, is in being able to stand on your 2 feet and be self-sufficient in conversations or debates or arguments about things like this. It seems to me that this person may be somebody who has a heavy influence on your life, and so you may be putting some distance between yourself and this person so that you can be self-sufficient, because it seems like if you're wrapped up with them, it's too easy for you to become them sufficient and not self-sufficient, if you know what I mean. All right, next thing that we're looking at are those things that you stand for. And so this is probably something that somebody has said something to you about, and you've had to defend or to stand up for in some way. It does look like you went through a situation that at one point was really overwhelming, basically, where you lost something that had been making you feel secure and safe in your current existence, in your current experience, and you've recovered from that, and you've recovered quite nicely from that. It looks to me like whatever that was kind of a release for you that allowed you to move forward and to feel more secure. And somebody has probably said something to you about that. Maybe not even so much that you had to defend it, but they're maybe saying, you know, how did you come out of that so well? Like you came out of that smelling like a rose, which seemed impossible. And so you may be talking to them about that, excuse me. How this other person is seeing you right now is they're seeing you as somebody who really doesn't have a lot of hope showing up in their life, and they see you as somebody who is not really working. I'm actually hearing the word lazy. I think they feel like maybe you're lazy here, and they see you as somebody who is just a dreamer or a daydreamer. They're not taking anything that you're doing really very seriously here. It's interesting because it looks like it's definitely worth taking seriously. Kind of interesting that they have that perspective. All right. Next thing we're looking at is your flex time, or your flex point during this time, I should say. You are just a gift giver, aren't you, Geminis? I do see you giving somebody a gift here. This looks like it could be a partner that you're actually giving a gift to, whether it's a business partner, friend, romantic partner, some way that you're partnered up with this person. I think you are giving them some kind of gift, and that gift may have to do with knowledge or information when we see this showing up the way that it does. La da 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 da. Okay, next thing that we have coming in during this flex time. La da 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 da. All right, this is kind of interesting. I feel, Gemini, like what this is saying is that there has been somebody who has wished you ill will. And in their wishing you ill will, they did not get what they wished for. It backfired in their face. And in fact, they may be receiving the ill will that they wish for you in their own lives. But it's interesting. So I don't see that their ill will has affected you in any way. You're actually sitting pretty here whenever I look at this. So really, the only reason that there would be for Spirit to ask me to bring this up would be to let you know, maybe you're realizing during this time frame that there is somebody that, you know, wishes that you were not well. So the only reason to bring that up during this time frame would basically be to say, don't stress out about it. Don't worry about it when you notice that or realize that in your sphere of existence. Don't stress about it at all, because you're coming out just fine. You're coming out large and in charge on top of this. No big deal. Okay? Another thing that we have going on during this time frame, Geminis, I feel like there is somebody coming into your life that has been in your life in the past. This is somebody who can talk charmingly and can convince, they could convince Eskimos to buy ice, basically. But their interest only lasts so long, and then the next thing you know, they're off to the next new idea or the next new relationship or the next new sparkly business project. And so this is somebody who's coming back from your past, and I feel like they are making you some type of offer. I don't feel like you're really so much trusting this offer, so I think you're actually ending it. I think you're saying that's enough of that. You know, I had enough of a taste of your flavor last time around. Go find somebody else to be a sucker. That's what we're saying here. All right, so Geminis, where do we see you at the end of the month? Well, that's really interesting. It looks to me like you are paying something off, or paying a very big payment on something if you're not actually paying it off. But this is my card that talks about paying something off. So paying off a car, paying off a phone, paying off a house, paying off a credit card. If you borrowed something from the neighbors, paying them back. But this is paying somebody back or paying something off. And I think that when you're doing this, this does put you in a little bit of a vulnerable situation, just a little bit of a vulnerable situation, because as you've paid this thing off or as you've paid this thing back, now you're kind of counting the days until your next payday. Okay? So it's like it took everything that you had to pay this off. And I would say that there must be a darn good reason for you paying it off or paying it back right now. If you know that you're kind of counting your days to the next payday. So whatever this is significant, and I feel like there's significant benefit to you for paying it right when you did. Otherwise, I don't think you would. Just doesn't make sense. Right? Okay, guys, well, that is your month. Let me go ahead and wrap this up and get ready to upload it. Everybody have a fantastic, wonderful, thrilling, and peaceful month. And if I don't see you here for a private session, either a reading or a Reiki session, between now and then I'll see you guys back on the next video. Peace out.